view my screen? Can I have an S in the chat box if they can? Okay, good. So first of all, welcome to Cloud and Loud's one more session in cloud related topics. Today we will be deep diving into Azure. First of all, I would like to tell you about our Cloud and Loud organization or tech community to be more precise. Here we are a team of people who offer lot of technical programs like internships, real-time use cases, free videos, and much more, free of cost. All you need to do is just follow us on LinkedIn and in our YouTube channel. So we keep updating every day with lot of niche topics on cloud and DevOps. As you can see here, we have lot of videos already posted. Internship, Docker Insights, Azure Postmortem. This is happening on a weekly basis with all the topics being covered on Azure one by one in detail. So we also have a lot of exam coupons available, but this is exclusively for our community members. So if you have to avail any of these coupons, please join the community so that you can enjoy more benefits like this. We are just showing you an overview. Similarly, if you see, there are a lot of free courses: Terraform, Kubernetes, AWS, Azure, Ansible, Docker, you name it and you can actually find it over here. So that is the Cloud and Loud tech community for you. We also have a lot of free tools, some job openings. And this is our founder, Mr. Vijay. He's a solution architect in the European Commission, and he's been running this community for the past 11 years. So the main aim of this community is to help and save cancer children, and at the same time enable and upscale us also. So this is going to be a two-way one. It is not just that community is going to get benefited, but we as an individual will be able to portray ourselves just like how I am doing now. So I am also a member of this community, but I am here projecting myself individually through this community. So that is what I wanted to tell you about our Cloud and Loud community. And we also have Cloud and Loud page. For those of you who are new over here, I will share the link in the chat box. You can go and you can follow it. I have shared the link here. So the Cloud and Loud tech community is where you can find a lot of useful information, blogs, videos, and much more. And we are also conducting a small conference or a mini conference in the first week of April. So people who are really interested in presenting yourselves, you are all most welcome. The topic is cloud and DevOps. So anything under the umbrella of cloud and DevOps, you are most welcome to present over here. So this is our page where you can find a lot of posts. See, there is a blog about what is Docker, how does it work. These are all really insightful blogs. I would seriously suggest you guys to go and check all these things. A Linux admin. So this is a Linux event that is recurring every week with all the use cases. So that is the advantage of this particular community. It is not just theory. Everything will be shared as a hands-on experience for you to experience the real, IT industry or the IT office. And coming about myself, I am Aarti and I've been into a cloud for the past few months, and I have been a freelancer in UAE and India. So this is about the community and this is about me. Let's now move on to the actual event. I am sharing the presentation. If I'm going fast or if there is any issues, please let me know in between itself. So now let us see the agenda for today's event. Here we will be covering cloud computing, basics or the outline. What is Azure? Why actually we must go to Azure? The jargons used in Azure, Azure networking. In Azure networking, we will be covering about the VNet peering today, and we will also see which is better, virtual network peering or VPN gateways, and why both are, which is better and why it is better also. So now about me, I'm like having 6 years of experience in IT and analysis. So as I said earlier, I've been a freelancer and I've been specializing in Azure and Kubernetes. Being a core member of this cloud and cloud tech community, I've gained a lot of knowledge also in the same. So I also have been into other fields in my career, but this being my most recent. I've also pasted my LinkedIn ID over here. So if you guys have any questions or if you want to connect for any other reasons professionally also, you're all most welcome to do it. Now let us come back to the basics. So what is cloud? Cloud by the name itself means you are storing something over the internet. So instead of having physical data centers,
Aarti, this still is in first slide.
Yeah, it is the first slide. I'm actually explaining what is cloud.
Oh, okay, okay. No, at least you move on to the agenda, second slide, then you can explain. People will understand.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now, can you guys see it?
Yes, yes, yes. Now.
Okay. So this is the agenda, and as I said, virtual network peering. What is virtual network? What is VPN? Which is better for which instances? And about me, again, 6+ years of experience in IT and in other fields of analytics. Right now, I'm a freelancer. Now is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I'm not sure why, but when I'm trying to do the slideshow, the sharing gets stopped. That's why. Okay. So let us come back to what is cloud. As I said earlier, cloud is nothing but you're storing some data over the internet. So instead of having physical data centers that are actually saving or storing huge servers, we are opting for this method of storing the servers virtually. So this not only improves the performance, but also reduces the organizational costs like CapEx and OpEx, that is capital expenses and operational expenses. It also protects the servers from power fluctuations, natural calamities like flood, earthquake, etc. So it is nothing but on-demand delivery of compute power, storage, etc. through the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing model. So that is the gist about cloud computing. Now, coming to traditional method versus the cloud method, as you can see here in the picture, you can see that there is an old IT building where you have physical servers, virtual machines, everything. After that, it was moved on to the hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud is nothing but how you're splitting your workload and you're giving to the clients. So it can be both through private cloud premises or public cloud premises. Public is you can access it anywhere through the internet, and private is more like an intranet. I think the image over here is self-explanatory. So let us see some transitions in cloud. In real-time scenarios, if you have noticed earlier, we have been storing documents in MS Word. So it may get deleted by mistake, or if your laptop or PC crashes, all the data will vanish, or even if because of a virus, the files may get corrupted. Say, for example, you're taking care of all these measures, but you're traveling and you suddenly have the need to access the file which you have saved in your laptop, in which case you need to carry that particular laptop wherever you're going in order to access the file. But if you save the same document or the same data in Google Spreadsheets or OneDrive, all the the above mentioned reasons which I was talking about would not have occurred. And one more important factor is that you can access this data anywhere globally using the same identification or the ID, but from any device, not necessary in that device which you had saved it. Another classic example is the gaming world. See, initially we used to purchase Road Rash CDs or any other video game CDs to install and play it in our PCs. We have to upgrade the hardware accordingly and then we have to play. But nowadays it is not like that. With cloud computing and cloud the technology being developed, you just need to click from the Play Store or the App Store. So that is acting like a cloud CD, comprising of all the applications, games, or anything you would like to play. You just need to install, play, and go. So now I think it is clear about what is cloud and how it is being used in real-time scenarios. As I mentioned, data centers. See, data centers are made up of three components: compute, storage, and networking. So these are the things that are virtually maintained in the cloud. They not only aid better data management, but also you have this data center interconnect DCI technology. So it connects two or more data centers using high-speed connectivity. Here, one more point you have to notice is data privacy. What is data privacy? Data privacy is nothing but if, for example, you have your organization in multiple geographies, what we do here is we save that data pertaining to one particular geography in that data center, that is the nearest data center. So the main point here we have to notice, whenever you are choosing a data center, you should make sure that it is the nearest one for better performance. So this is about the data centers that are now being virtualized through cloud. Now let us see what is Azure. Azure is formerly known as Windows Azure, whereas now it has been called as Microsoft Azure. It is nothing but Microsoft's public cloud computing platform that provides a lot of services for analytics, for storing large amounts of data, for networking, etc. So now let us see why you should actually go for Azure. You have a lot of clouds, you have a lot of cloud services, you have AWS, you have IBM's, you have Google Cloud Platform. But why particularly here we are talking about Azure is, technically Azure provides a consistent platform. So it is very easy to access, and for both on-premise and public cloud, there is an ease of mobility. Leaving alone the technical part, practically there is a huge demand in the market. So the need for trained and certified practitioners in Azure is growing so rapidly. I have attached a simple screenshot for you to see. Recent scenarios in the last 2-3 years, if you have noticed, the searches for Google Cloud and AWS jobs have dropped. Not drastically, but they have still dropped. But the interest for Azure has risen to almost 20% in the recent years. So that is why here we are going to be talking more about Azure. But if you want other platforms or other cloud services, you can visit our YouTube channel. We have everything explained in detail. So today we will be talking about Azure Networking. There are three kinds of Azure Networking. One is VNet to VNet peering. Another is VNet Gateway to VNet Gateway peering. And the last one is point-to-site VPN to Azure Client Machine. Today, in particular, we will be discussing and we will be doing a hands-on on VNet to VNet peering. So what is a VNet? VNet is nothing but virtual network. See, Azure networks allow different Azure resources as in virtual machines, web applications to communicate with each other very easily, and with the devices on the internet or on premises in a secured way. Since it is all virtualization, these networks are referred to as virtual networks. So it is nothing but a logical isolation and representation of a network in the cloud. So these VNets can actually provision and manage VPNs on Azure. They can connect with different VNets on Azure, And they can also link the VNets with the on-premise environment. So since each VNet has its own CIDR, that is IP address blocks, it is possible to even have a link between the on-premise networks and the Azure Virtual Networks. Let us see about all those in detail in the coming slides. So as I said, you can see here a simple diagram of how networking is done in Azure. You can see a lot of NSGs, load balancers, those components we'll be discussing in the coming slides. So here you can see it is nothing but a communication protocol. So it is connecting various resources from the internet, and it is also can be told as a depiction of your own network, but in the cloud. Coming to Azure networking models, as I said earlier, we had VNet peering, VPN gateways, virtual WAN, that is virtual wide area network, and express route. Each of these things we will be discussing. But first, before going into the networking models, we will see what are the components that are consisting in all of these models. Like what are the key words or the key components that are used in Azure networking. So as you see here, you can see that we have used subnets, IP addresses, NSGs or network security groups, firewalls, load balancers, and routing tables. So these are some of the key components of networking, which you will keep on coming across in every scenario. Let it be hands-on, let it be theoretical. But when you talk about Azure networking, these are the components that you will constantly keep on hearing. So before we go into the advanced sessions, let us see what each component is about. VNet is nothing but the on-premise virtual network. As I said, it is similar to the traditional network. Here you can see you have a virtual machine. You have one virtual network A, which is getting peered using the Azure peering to another virtual machine in virtual network B. Is this clear? Am I going too fast? If I'm going too fast, please stop me in between so that I'll explain it in a slower method. The next component is subnets. Subnets is nothing but a range of IP addresses that are divided into multiple subnets. This is for security purpose. So if one subnet also gets failed, we can retrieve it using the other subnets. The complete network will not go down. So that is the main use of a subnet. Here you can see a continuous block of IP is used to handle the connection between the devices. So you can see many subnets, subnet 1, subnet 2, subnet 3 inside one virtual network that is for a specific region in a subscription. So this is about subnets. The next is IPs, internet protocols. This is a very, very important factor when you're trying to peer one virtual network to another virtual network, because the IP address, if you give it wrong, then the entire process of peering has no value. Azure has two kinds of IP addresses. It is like a public IP and a private IP. So public IP is what it can be accessed over the internet. That is, from anywhere you can access it if you just have the access to internet. Private IP is nothing but in layman terms, I can tell it is a college network. So you can compare it with internet and intranet. So intranet is something where only a specified users can use it within that particular network. But internet is something that can be accessed globally from anywhere in any device as long as there is access to the network. So this is similar, public IP and private IP. Next is network security groups. Network security groups is nothing but they are used to permit or deny traffic. They have a set of rules, to a subnet or a network interface. So it is more like a firewall that is protecting the virtual network by limiting the network traffic. That is network security groups. In this diagram, you can see Azure host receives traffic. So the network security decides whether it is inbound or outbound. If it is inbound, it is sent to the inbound rules set. And if it is outbound, it is sent to the outbound rules, and it goes by priority. What is the first rule? Is it matching? Is it not matching? Can we allow it to enter, or should we not allow it to enter? So this is what network security groups does. Next is Azure Firewall. Azure Firewall is nothing but it offers, it is like a managed service. So it provides the ability to define and control your network. So what enters and what leaves the network is controlled by this firewall. Next, we have load balancers. Load balancers are actually available in two methods, that is basic and standard. That is nothing but it differs from scalability and in features. So what these load balancers does is it segregates the traffic and distributes it evenly. For example, if you have one IP address, say Amazon.com, there are only 40 people are using it, so the traffic will be lesser. But when there is a sale, there will be 400 or 4,000 people accessing the same network. That is the time when load balancers come into play and they distribute the traffic properly, so that the site does not go down and everybody can access it. Next is routing tables. Routing tables is like, for example, if traffic needs to leave the subnet at any time, it needs a routing function in order to forward that particular packets to another subnet or maybe to another network also. So this router uses a routing table to configure these kind of setups. That is, a routing table is nothing but it can have rules that define where the traffic should be sent to, whether it should be sent to a virtual network or a virtual network gateway or a virtual machine. So this is the use of routing tables in networking. Now let us come to one of the main networking models in Azure, Azure VNet peering. So Azure VNet peering is of two major types. One is global VNet peering, the another is regional virtual network peering. So virtual network peering by the name itself means connecting one network to another network. So what is happening over here? It enables you to connect Azure networks. For example, we can say we have one virtual network that is for connectivity purpose. So that is getting routed to another virtual network through the Microsoft backbone infrastructure. But in VPN, it is done through a tunnel. That is, it will be more public. It can be accessed through the internet. So as I said, regional VNet peering is, it connects two virtual networks in the same region. Whereas global, it is done across different Azure regions, connecting one virtual network from one Azure region, for example, East US, to another virtual network, maybe in another region, say West US or anywhere, South Asia, anywhere. So VNet to VNet via VPN gateway. This is nothing but it makes the VNet across the regions or within the same regions using the VPN gateways. And VNet to VNet via express route, we will be looking into it in detail in our coming slides. So this is about VNet peering, but two main points which we need to keep in mind while talking about virtual network peering is the IP addresses must not overlap. And after you peer, the modification of the address range of those networks or those virtual machines is not at all possible. So before you do anything, you should make sure that it is kept in the same way. I mean, the address is not changed. Am I clear? I mean, like, is it clear for everyone? Can I have an S in the chat box if it is clear? Okay. So now that we've seen about what is virtual network peering, it is nothing but I can show you with an example. I will show you in the hands-on. The main reason over here is, as you can see here, this virtual network. This virtual network may have one virtual machine installed in it. And there will be another virtual network with another virtual machine installed in it. So in peering, we will try to talk to this virtual machine, and again from this virtual machine, there will be a communication happening to the first virtual machine. So this is what is actual VNet peering, to be told in very simple terms. Before we go to the hands-on session, let us see what is VNet peering and VPN gateways. So VNet peering and VPN gateway, when you should be using what? For example, you're in a project, and that project does not require a lot of security. It is latency. It is not as latency sensitive as other projects, for example. In that ways, you will be using VPN gateways, because VPN gateways, it just provides a limited bandwidth where encryption is required. Whereas VNet peering provides a low latency, a high bandwidth connection. And since traffic is completely private over here and remains only on the Microsoft backbone, the clients or customers with very strict data policies, those kind of customers or clients will be preferring VNet peering over VPN gateways where public internet is involved. So this is the difference between VNet peering and VPN gateway. So if your project is secure like a banking project, VNet peering would be the best option. But if we are okay, if the client is okay, or if the project scenario is okay through peer to via public internet, then you can choose VPN gateways. So these are the two differences, and these are the reasons why people will be choosing VNet peering or VPN gateways depending upon their project scenarios and necessities and prerequisites. So now if it is clear, we will move on to our hands-on session. So can we move on to the hands-on session?
Yes, RT. But before that, what they need to do this hands-on, you can give some description, then you can show it.
Yes, sure. So for doing the hands-on in Azure, you will be requiring some prerequisites. The prerequisites are, first of all, you should have a subscription to Azure portal. See, it is not paid at all. Once you log in, once you sign up into the Azure portal, it will be asking you for a debit or a credit card just to authenticate and make sure that it is an actual person who is trying to log in. So once you do that, you will be able to access all the resources in Azure portal. For the first 1 month, or it will be completely free, and you will be having extra credits from Microsoft for you to test and try out all the scenarios, all the resources available in Azure portal. But after that, you can go as pay as you go pricing. So for whatever resources you use, you will be having to pay. But over here, while practicing in your own lab or practicing in your own laptop, you need not have the fear of paying something to Microsoft or to anybody. Once you practice and once you keep on deleting it, you create a resource, you practice whatever use case you have to do, you create virtual machines, virtual networks, you try peering, you do everything. But once the project is completed, always remember to delete whatever you have done so that you will not be charged. And one more prerequisite is you should make sure that you are having a Gmail ID, proper credit or a debit card, and then you can just log in and you can start using the Azure portal. It is very easy, like how you sign up for a Facebook account. It is not at all difficult. I will show you how we will be using that also. My sharing has been disabled.
Yes. Yes, you can share it.
Thank you. So yes, so let us see how it is being done. Okay. Now we will open the Azure portal and we'll see how we can do it. So this is the Azure home page. Over here, if you see, you can actually check that I have logged in with my mail ID, nothing else. And you can see that you have subscription, that is credits. This is a free trial and you can upgrade to pay as you go subscription. So pay as you go subscription is nothing but whatever you're using in the Azure services, you will be paying for it. But as I said, if you keep on deleting it, once you finish your activity or once you finish your use case, then you will not be having to pay anything extra. I would recommend because that is the best practice ever. Once you do everything, you clean it and again you recreate a fresh one. So here, when creating a virtual network, a virtual network peering, what you need, as I said, you need a virtual network, you need a virtual machine, you need another virtual network, another virtual machine. So we will be communicating from the first virtual machine to the second virtual machine. This is what we will be doing here. So let us first connect with virtual networks. Here we are creating a virtual network. See, when you go for this, you will be getting a lot of tabs. For the first tab, since my subscription is a free trial, it is showing free trial. Resource group, if you already have a resource group, it will show you the existing resource groups here. Since we do not have any resource group, we will be creating a new resource group. So let us name it as resource group 1 or resource group alone. Okay, we are saving it. Next, the name of the virtual network. What virtual network name you would like to give? Usually in your projects, they would have already specified what will be the name of the network. But since we are just doing this as a experience for hands-on, we can name it as what we want. For example, let us name it as VNet 1 because I am going to select the region as East US. So East Virtual Network 1. So this is the basic step. Next, we will go to the IP addresses. Here, if you see, the IP address by itself will get selected. And there will be a default subnet along with the IP address. If you have any specific IP addresses that you need to feed in for your project purpose, you can change it over here and you can add an additional subnet accordingly. But now, since we are just doing a trial version, we will not be requiring all that. Next, we will go to the security. So here we will be using the default securities. Bastion host, this I will explain in detail in one more video because this is a very huge and a very important topic also. Next, we are going for the tags. Here, what this tags does is, for example, you have multiple resources, you have like 100 or 200 resources. Every time you cannot keep searching and finding out resources. So if you apply tags for resources, it will be more easier. It is like segregating your files in different folders on your laptop. Since we have only one resource group, we are not going to have any tags here. Let us review and create. So when you click on review and create, you can see here, it is running a final validation. So the system is actually validating if the virtual network which we have created is complying with their prerequisites. So now that validation is passed, we are creating this network. See in the right hand side, you can see initializing deployment. Once the deployment has been initialized, it has been submitted. After this, if you see the screen, one by one, everything will start getting deployed. You can see the network security group will be deployed, and then the virtual machine will, virtual network will be deployed. So one by one, everything will get deployed. So here, deployment is successful. Now, if you go to the resource, you can see here a resource group RG address space East US location has been created. Now, in virtual networks, one virtual network has been created for the location East US. Now, let us create a virtual machine for this virtual network. So, we are going here for virtual machines. You go for create a virtual machine. So since we already have a resource group, we will be allocating that resource group to this virtual machine. So that is RG. Virtual machine name. You can give any name. Here I'm giving as EVM1. So East regions virtual machine 1. The region is selected as East US, and the other things I'm leaving as such, and the size also I'm taking for the minimal value of disk. For a detailed description of for what these disks stand for, how you have to select what kind of disk, when you should be selecting the disk, all these we have an exclusive video in our Azure postmortem. We will be sharing the description to that link also below. You can check that and you can learn more about it. So once this is set, we are going to the disks part. The OS over here, I am looking only for standard SSD because we are just doing the simple hands-on. Encryption type is at rest, and here if I want any extra disk to be attached, then I will be using this column. But for now, I don't want anything. We are going to the networking part. One minute. Let us just check 1 second because the virtual network is not being reflected. Let me just refresh, and once it's refreshed, we will do it again. Okay, so the virtual network is now created. Let us create a virtual network here and then let us see again. So the resource group is RG, and we can give any network name. So I'm giving it as East VNet 1, and I'm giving it an East VNet region. The default IP address and the default subnets have been picked up. Security, I'm giving it as default itself. I'm not changing anything. And tags also, for now, we will not be requiring any tags because we do not have multiple resources. I'm creating this virtual network. So once this virtual network is created, we will create another virtual network and then come back to the virtual machines. So it can be in any order because the ideology is all the 4 has to be created. That's it. So now the deployment is successful. Let us go to the virtual networks and check. So we have one virtual network created over here. Now we'll be creating another virtual network, but in a different region. So we'll name this as West VNet 2. Okay. So we are creating this as we are creating this as West VNet 2, and the region we will select as West US, for example. Okay. Now, if you see the IP addresses, this also it has been picked up by default. The previous virtual network, we had 10.0.0.16, and here it is 10.1.0. So again, here it has picked up a different IP address by default and a different subnet also. Security is going to be the same. We are not adding any tags. We are reviewing it and we are creating it here. Once the validation is passed, we are creating the virtual network. See, if you refresh here, you can see East Virtual Network has been created. So when you click on it, you can see all the properties of the virtual network. The address space, the subscription ID, the location, that is the region where we have created the virtual network, and the resource group to which it is getting associated. Now, if you see, our deployment is complete. That is, we have created our second virtual network also. Now, let us refresh here and see if that virtual network has been reflected. See, Now you can see East VNet 1, East VNet 2, and EVNet 1. So we have now created 3 virtual networks. Now let us create virtual machines and then try connecting. Now we are going to virtual machines. We are creating a virtual machine here. We are giving the resource group as RG, and let us have it as East VM1. So this is the virtual machine I'm creating in US region, East US region. Everything else I'm keeping as same. I'm using a password. So I'm giving a username and I'm giving a password here. Confirming the same. I'm using SSH2. Next, I'm going to the disks part. Disk, let us say, for example, take standard HDD. The rest of the things, I don't need anything. I don't need an extra disk to be attached. So I'm going to the networking. Here, if you see, the virtual network by itself has selected East VNet 1. In the drop down, you can see there is a virtual network East VNet 1. Because why it is getting selected is, I have created a virtual network in the East US region. And now when I'm creating a virtual machine in the same region, it will show you all the available networks in that particular region only. It will not be showing you from any other region. So now that we have our virtual network set up and virtual machine with the subnet ID and everything created, we will be managing the virtual machine. Now here in boot diagnostics, if you enable with custom storage account, it is always the most, it is a better method. Why it is better? We will be seeing in our detailed video about each and every step that is involved in each and every tabs in this Azure portal. No tags. Now we are reviewing it and we are creating it. So you can see that the machine is being run for final validation. You can see the product details given here, how much subscription credits are being applied. And now when we click on create, it will get deployed into the particular virtual network. So you can see it is initializing deployment. Let us wait for a few seconds. See, it is submitting and then it will show us the deployment status also. See, now we can see deployment is in progress. See, now can you see that storage accounts has been created, public IP addresses, network security groups, network interfaces are also created. Next, virtual machine will be created and the deployment will be complete. So this is how a virtual machine is getting deployed step by step in the backend. If you want to check the operation details, when you can go here, you can check for the detailed step. So while this is getting deployed, we will go to virtual machines and we will create one more virtual machine, but in a different region. See here, you can see East VM1, resource group is RG, location is East US, and the status is creating. You can also see the disk size here, what disk have we chosen. Once it is created, you can see the public IP address also and how many disks are being used. So everything you can see here. See, now you can see deployment is succeeded in the right hand corner. So now let us refresh and see what the status is. I think it's taking time to reflect. Okay, meanwhile, we'll create one more virtual machine, as I said, but in a different region. So we'll be selecting the same resource group. This time, let us select as West. So it is going to be West VM 2. Let us say a virtual machine 2 for us not to get confused. And what region we chose initially for the virtual network? West US 2. So we will be choosing the same region here. Again, for this virtual machine, let us have a username and password. I'm confirming the password here. No inbound port rules are being set, so everything is being allowed. The disks, again, I'm here choosing standard HDD because I don't have any other features which I'm going to do. This is just hands-on, no? And then we are going to the networking part. Previously, when we created a virtual machine in the East region, if you see the virtual network was automatically getting selected as East VNet 2 because there was no other virtual network in that region. But here, when we selected the virtual machine to be deployed in the West US region, you can see that the virtual network being selected is West VNet 2. So you cannot see any other virtual networks here because we have not created any other networks in that particular region. The subnet also has been picked by default over here. A network security group is going to be basic. SSH2 is what we have chosen. And then we are going to the management part. Here again, we are enabling it with storage custom account. No tags are going to be used here. Let us review and create this machine. See, the validation has been passed here. So now we are creating the machine. Similar to the previous deployment, here again you can see the network security groups, the storage, everything being deployed, and then finally the virtual machine also will be deployed. So what we are actually doing here is we are logging into the portal. We are creating two virtual networks in different regions, and then we are creating two virtual machines, that is one in each regions. Once that is created, we will be going to the peering process. That is, we will be trying to communicate from one virtual machine to another and vice versa. Once this is deployed, we will see how that is also being done. See, now this virtual machine is running. Initially, the status was creating. Now it is running. See, the deployment has been succeeded for the second virtual machine which we have created. Now, if you see, this is being in the creating status. So once this also is up and running, then we can start peering it. So while doing it, first let us open virtual networks. For the ease of understanding, I am opening it in different tabs. Similarly, virtual machines also, what I'm doing is I'm opening it in different tabs. So now you can see that this virtual machine also is running. From the status of creating, now it has gone to running status. Okay. So now coming to the first virtual machine, East VNet 1. So now what we will be doing is we will be peering from this East virtual network to the another virtual network. So when you come in the left hand side down, you can see peerings. When you click on peerings, we have not peered it anywhere. So we are adding a new peer. You can give any link over here. Say, for example, let us say east, west, peering. Okay. Sorry. Yes, east-west peering. And then when you come down, this is nothing but this should be more understandable, because when you're doing any project or when you're amidst some deployment, this name is what will be appearing. So you should know what exactly is getting peered. So this must be crystal clear. Now for testing purpose, I've given east-west. But when you have a proper virtual networks name, that must be mentioned here as the first to the peer machine and the host machine. Both must be mentioned in a clear and crystal way for everyone to understand. So to which virtual network we are actually trying to peer? We are doing it to Western regions, Western US virtual network. So the rest of the things will be same and we are adding it. Now if you see, the peering status has been connected and the peer is West VNet 2. Okay. Now let us open West VNet 2 and see what is the peering status. Should it be peered again or is it automatically peered? See over here, nothing is there. It is blank. Okay. Once you refresh the page, you can see east-west peering has been done. And the peer here is East VNet 1. That is the first VNet where we actually peer to the second VNet. Here we didn't do any peering, but automatically it has got connected. So if you just peer from one machine to another, the other will reflect the peering automatically. You need not go and do manual peering for vice versa methods also. Now that we have done the peerings, let us see about the virtual machines. So we'll go to the virtual machine, East VM1. This we are going to peer by using PuTTY. If you see the private address over here is 10.0.0.4. What we are going to do is, we are going to try to communicate from this virtual machine to the other virtual machine. Are you able to see my PuTTY screen also? Okay.
No, Arti. I think you shared only a few. You can share the entire desktop if you want.
I'm sharing it like that. Let me see 1 second. Now can you see my PuTTY screen?
Yes.
Okay. So now what we are going to do is, we are going to connect one virtual machine to another virtual machine. So going into the virtual machine, we need to first enter the public address. It is asking, can you accept? We will be accepting it. So here we will be giving a username and password, which we have initially given now while creating the virtual machine. So I'm giving the username and password. Now if you see, we have logged into the virtual machine. Now we will connect it to the other machine. So what was another virtual machine's IP address, that is the private IP address? It was 10.1.0.4. What we need to write here, you should not do it like this directly. Instead, what you should do is, you should put the command ping and then 10.1.0.4. That is the private IP address of the second virtual machine. Now, can you see that it has started communicating with the second virtual machine. Now let us try the same using the second machine. Okay, we will open one more putty window. And over here, we will be giving the public IP address of the second virtual machine. So that is 20.109.165.118. Now you've opened the connection. You will be logging in using your ID and password which you had entered earlier. So once you've logged in, let us ping and see whether the other machine is responding. So what was the private IP address of the previous virtual machine? It was 10.0.0.4. See, now you can see that we have paired both the virtual networks, both virtual machines from two different virtual networks, which were set up in different Azure regions globally, from East USA to the West USA. This is how you will be doing virtual VNet peering. So do you have any doubts in this? If you have any doubts, please mention it in the chat box. We will take time. We will clear each and every doubt with the proper best use case available. These are just small videos or small sessions which we are actually trying to engage in. But if you want some advanced sessions and advanced videos, now I have stopped this. Let us check that also. As I said earlier, now I have created everything. I have completed what I have to do. What I will do is I will always go to home. I will go to the resource group. As I said, instead of getting charged for everything you do, you always finish your activities. You select everything, whatever you have done. You select and you delete the resource group. Here you have to give the resource group name. What was the resource group that we had named initially? It was RG. See, it has been selected and we will be deleting everything over here. So again, this will be looking like a fresh setup. And again, when you have to do any new activities or new projects or new hands-on, all you have to do is create from the start. This will not only help you economically save your credits in Azure account, but it will also be a good practice whenever you're doing it in practical life. But don't delete it in the projects. I'm just telling for practice purpose. So hope it is clear for all of you. If you have any doubts, please let me know.
Yeah, there is a couple of query. There is Nijam. Probably you asked, you create a one VNet, 3 different subnet, right? In that case, you can, you are asking the dev stage live, right? So what I can say is, if the scenario, the current scenario, whatever we explained, it is kind of, say, for example, you have a 2 projects, one project network to another project network, or you can say location 1, project 1, location 2, project 2. Both want to talk, but they don't want to talk via internet because they are a project, they are a company. So they never interested to go via internet. In that case, Chennai office 1 VNet, Bangalore office 1 VNet. So they will communicate as if they are talking in a internal. So that is where the VNet will help you. Of course, you can create a one VNet. In that Chennai office, you can create a multiple subnets. But if you want to talk from Chennai to Bangalore, then you need some kind of a pairing with the internal way of traffic route. Hope it's clear, Nijam. Hello, Nijam. Can you confirm in the chat? Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Confirm.
Muthu, can I give a public IP? Normally, the reason why we enabled the public IP is normally if you are a production server, normally we never go and configure the public IP. So your production server will have only private IP. So in that case, how you will go for it? So that is where the bastion host you will configure, or we used to say jump server. First, in your project, you will log into that jump server or bastion host. From there only you will log in. The same concept here. But now, as part of this exercise, we haven't configured bastion host. That is the reason we are using public IP logged in inside. But from there, we are testing through private IP only. So it's pinging. That means both servers are in a different location, but still pinging via private IP. That means the peering is working. Any okay, Anish, since you joined first time, hope you noted down the points. Even I sent in the chat. Please enable all notification in LinkedIn as well as YouTube, so that if you miss LinkedIn, you will get notified from LinkedIn group. Even if you miss LinkedIn newsletter, will be notified. Even there also, if you miss, YouTube will be notified with the enable notifications. So we'll bring more initiatives. Please stay tuned. Thanks everyone.
Thank you guys. Please follow the Cloud and Love Tech community for more such useful videos. Actually, you have very good advanced use cases that have already been explained. Go to our YouTube channel, follow it. And even in our LinkedIn page, if you see, there are lots of blogs, there are lots of materials, cheat sheets that are being posted. So if you follow that in LinkedIn also, I think it will be very easy for you to crack your upcoming IT interviews, or if you have to change your career also, it will be a very good option. And then it's all for free actually. So there's nothing that we are charging you. So please join the community and you also upscale yourself just like how we are all doing individually. Thank you so much for the session.